Hi, so we're on week three. We've just finished week three, sorry, of um, how to run your own um, tech company or set up your own tech company and get your tech solution out there. So this week was a bit of a week. Just going to go through it briefly today. I had a very sick dog this week, and we were very much focused on that, so solving that problem, and the business stuff had to take a back seat because he's such an important member of the family. So that was the primary concern this week. Just to update you on stuff that we did do. So I, lo and behold, did not hear back from the government about the email that I sent to correct the incorrect email that I had put in my application for the AI Growth Hub. I mentioned before that it was 10 working days that they said it would take to respond to an email, changing an email. And the 10 days was up on Wednesday, and lo and behold, I didn't hear from anybody on Wednesday. So I thought, oh, I'll leave it till Thursday, give them an extra 24 hours to deal. And no, they didn't deal with it Thursday either. So yesterday I sent another email referring to the previous email, referring to my incorrect email. So I'm not sure I will hear from anybody between now and the rest of the end of the world. But what I'll do on Monday is I will have to look for a different solution, because I really do want to take part in the sandbox. And if I have been selected and they can't get hold of me, that would be outrageous. So I just want to give myself all the opportunities that I can to be involved if they are interested in me being involved, because it's to have a regulator involved in your solution that involves regulated industries, as mine does, is like gold dust, really. So we'll have to see. So that was this week. The next thing I want to talk to you about is Google Workspace. Google Workspace. It's amazing. They have amazing tools. But when you have Google, I'm always moaning, aren't I? When you have Google Workspace and you have your private Gmail login and your business Google login, you really want the two to be able to work together, so that if I create a document or a spreadsheet or something in my private notebook LM, which I'll talk about in a second, I want to be able to look at it in my work notebook LM, or send documents to one, let me start again, or send documents one to the other. Because when you're logged in, if you have stuff that you've created in your private document store, word processing documents, spreadsheets, slide decks, whatever, you can't just open those in your work settings. So although you can use Gmail to go between the two, your artifacts that you create, so the assets that you create, you can't just move them between your two accounts, even though the two accounts are linked. Because of course, why would you be able to do that? That would be a bit too logical. So I thought, right, I'm going to solve this, because I need to be able to use the documents between the two. And the other thing is, when you have a Google Workspace account, all of your interactions with AI are at a pro level. So if you have Gemini, you have Gemini Pro. If you have Notebook LM, you have Notebook LM Pro. So you want to be able to produce the things in your business workspace account, but you want to be able to use them in your regular private account, because you just do. But it's not easy like that. So I thought, right, I'm going to solve this problem. I'm going to ask Gemini how I can just make this easier for myself, so I can swap documents between the two emails. My email that I have with Gmail, and then my new email, which seems to be causing me so many problems now, that I have set up on my domain, which is mapped to Google's Gmail service. So I went on Gemini and I said to Gemini, okay, I'm having this problem. How do I do it? So I went on Gemini, and Gemini took me through the process in Workspace, all this back-endy stuff where they have this counterintuitive, in my view, user interface that's just so many words, because Google's layout is all words. There's never graphics and things to help you out, no color designation or color design to help you out to find your way through somewhere. It's just words, and it's very it's a lot. It's a lot of on the brain. So I thought, well, I'll ask Gemini, tell me what to do step by step. And we went over this for 3 hours just to get the two emails to talk to each other. 3 hours, and it still didn't solve it. So then I started to get a bit cross with Gemini. Very forgiving it is, but nonetheless I was getting quite cross, and I thought, right, I'm just going to go to Noel, because Noel is my number one. I just thought Gemini is a Google ecosphere product. I will use that first. Turns out that ChatGPT, or Noel as I call him, knows more about the Google Workspace interface than Gemini does. This is astonishing to me. And when I went back to Gemini and I said, Noel, or I said ChatGPT, knows more about the interface than you do, that's not right, it just apologized and said, yeah, well, that's just how it rolls sometimes. So long story short, if you have this problem and you want the two accounts to talk to each other, you have to create a bridge. Well, you don't have to. That's one of the solutions, because I couldn't get the back-endy stuff to work for me. So the easy solution that Noel came up with was to create a folder that you put in your shared section on your Google account. Sorry, I'm tired today. And that share folder, if you dump things into the shared folder and you put the email of your private Gmail account, you can share documents. So you put a bridge folder on your private account, a bridge folder on your business account. Anything you put in that folder can be viewed by the two accounts. That was just the easiest way I could go about it. Very complicated. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. But we got it kind of solved. So that was this week. I just wanted to get back to Notebook LM, which is one of the most amazing products on the Google platform. I used it this week in many respects, but to create podcasts, I did it. I have a lot of technical documentation, and I've also been contacting various people to it's kind of like my listening phase, so to get feedback that will shape the design of the product, the tech product. So I've been getting feedback, but you're trying to give people information because they're like, well, what's this about? And you're so excited and hyper about it, and I'm a pretty tangential kind of person as well, that you can go down rabbit holes that they're just not interested in. So to help bring it back, I put the documentation that I've created into Notebook LM, and it creates a podcast, and then you can whiz that over to the people you're talking to and they can listen to it, because it works as a two-person interaction based upon the material that you put into Notebook LM. It does a whole bunch of other stuff, but this week I was using it to create podcasts because it's a really nice way to interact with the information you supply. It makes it a bit easier for people that don't understand the product that you're creating. I'm not creating a ChatGPT or anything like that. So when you say you're creating an AI product, people think that that's what it is, and it isn't at all. Nothing could be further than the truth, but it is AI related. Anyway, I won't go into that. I'll talk about that another day. So Notebook LM for podcasts was what I was doing this week. And then, as I say, I was doing this feedback listening phase, which will really help with certain elements of the design, because, as I mentioned, it's the regulated sectors that are impacted by the product I'm creating. And so I created like briefing notes to ask them about their industry and how my product would impact their industry. So I had to then research their industry, because I don't necessarily know all of these industries at all. So I had to do a bit of research on these industries and then set out these briefing documents to ask them questions that were related to the problems that we're hoping to solve with this software. So this week I reached out to my small network and David's network combined, and I researched the regulation of banks, because one of his contacts works for the Bank of England, and the Bank of England is a very important regulator for the financial sector, as we know. So that was one of them. So I had to do a bit of research on that. And then a college friend of both of ours is an auditor, and internal audit is another important part of the product that I'm creating. So I had to talk internal audit stuff in my briefing document, which, thank goodness for AI, you can kind of get a synopsis on whatever these sectors are, and try and understand what this person's job is, so that you can then ask the right questions, because then it informs your design for our product. And then a friend that we met on holiday like 40 years ago, he's in the timber sector, so he is construction sector, and he imports and distributes timber, and that's a heavily regulated sector because of tree species and things like that. So he was another person that I had to look up his sector and what they do. Even the language that they use is not the same for his sector, or the auditors and the language they use. Like, you think that you are using certain words and they mean something completely different in these different sectors. So there was that. The fourth one was a London borough. So when you think about all the things that any borough, any council does, and because it impacts people's lives, the impact of AI on the decision making in these companies and these organizations is really quite acute. And so I wanted a public body feedback as well. And then a criminal law firm, so that's my friend's daughter, works for a criminal law firm, and I was getting her feedback of how things are at her company or firm. And then finally, I had to, this week anyway, reach out to the insurance sector, and I don't have any contacts in that sector whatsoever. So I asked Noel, what do? I need to talk to somebody in insurance. Who do I contact? And he told me who to look for online. And so I looked online and came back with a few people's names and positions and LinkedIn profiles. And he then selected for me who was the best person to contact. So I don't know if this ultimately will be the best person to contact, but I don't know any better than Noel. So I reached out. Well, first of all, I had to do some research on claims and AI's role in insurance claims, which is quite an interesting thing, and how they are using AI for the decision making front of house and not just back of house when it comes to assessing claims. So they're using it for decision making and assessing. So that's quite interesting. So I wrote an email to this guy, a cold outreach kind of email. I don't know that he will reply, but it's like a first step into insurance. And if I can't get any feedback from him, then I'll have to think of another route in. So that was that. So it was basically an outreach week, and I've got some really good feedback from these people and the ones who've replied, and that will help me to then go back to them again with how our solution might impact what they told me. So that's for another time. And then finally, because I'm not hanging around a lot today, because it's my birthday today and I've got things to do. But I did want to just mention that anyone who's in the AI space who lives in the UK and who trades with Europe or is expecting to trade with Europe will be affected by the EU AI Act. And it's a really integral and important act for the ground rules on AI as it relates to the European Union. So it's a European Union thing, but if you are trading with the European Union, then you're going to be affected if your work affects what they call high risk areas. So it's things like recruitment, health, education, insurance, anything that affects people's lives where AI is used to make decisions about people's lives, then you're going to be governed by this act. And basically, it's just about, in a nutshell, the responsibility and oversight by the companies when it comes to AI. I'm gonna do a breakdown of it next week. That's my big exciting thing for next week, because I kind of need to be a bit focused with these videos that I'm doing, because as you can tell, they're not very focused. So next week will be focused. I'm going to do like a short chat on the EU and this very important legislation. The UK doesn't have this legislation. We're just going along with the laws that we already have, and this is what normally happens. And the trouble is that technological events move faster than the legal system. So we're probably going to be in lockstep with the European Union at some point and have to create our own legislation. But because we're no longer in the EU, we don't automatically have to do it anymore. But like I say, because all of these companies are affected by virtue of being traders or trading establishments with the EU, we all have to do it anyway. So anyway, that's going to be for next week. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Not a lot got done this week in terms of concrete things, but a lot of research was done in order to get this feedback, like I say, and also to create these podcasts for people to understand what it is that we're doing and how it relates to them. So that was it. Short and sweet today. I don't know how short that was, to be fair. Yeah, shorter, I think, than previously. Next week, so exciting, talking about the EU, as I say, and also what we're doing with our week. Yeah, that's it. Gotta go. Have a great week, everybody. I'll be here next week. Goodbye.